Peace and prosperity. You guys coming in right now, please let me know if you can hear me. Because normally when I play music, sometimes it messes up the audio a little bit. But I really like to play music, so I don't plan on turning it off anytime soon. But yes, peace. Welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Asaya Mystic. I'm a spiritual life coach and feminine guide. And I am here to help you free your heart and soul through this esoteric and just enlightening perceptions and information that comes to me on a whim. And I get on here and I share it with you guys out of inspiration or intention. So, welcome to everyone coming in the room. Right now, I want to talk about levels of consciousness and improving our connection to source. This topic was inspired by the overwhelm of people, or I guess just the overwhelm of things and information that's out there. And we're in the age of Aquarius, and now is really a time where information is just readily available to people. And I feel like this information, we want to be in a balanced area for every sign, for every energy we enter into. And this is also a big part of why I started doing esoteric, talking about the esoteric zodiac signs, because there's not enough emphasis on the original, or I would say primal blueprint for these energies, for these signs, for these signatures. We know Aquarius, the sign of Aquarius, as being, in its basic sense, connected to the internet, technology, and all of these things. But the internet and technology it wasn't always the way it is right now. So hundreds of years ago, or whenever, the beginning of time, whatever you want to call it, technology wasn't always the way it is now. It's changed, it's evolved, whatever. So we want to ask ourselves, using this as an example, how are we connected to this in a way that is primal, and in a way that's truly synced with the source of this energy? So just as an example of living in the age of Aquarius and dealing with the energy of the age of Aquarius, we are already thinking about this energy or this sign in a way that isn't really all the way it. Aquarius doesn't just deal with technology and internet. Aquarius deals with intelligence, and Aquarius deals with the connection. And I'm seeing like these veins everywhere. It's like this network of energy and information. So Aquarius also physically rules over our blood flow, our circulation. And this circulation, this renewable kind of source of energy, is also like a renewable intelligence. It's this constant stream of information. It also makes me think about mushrooms and the intelligence system of the earth. And also just thinking about Aquariuses in general. My daughter is an Aquarius, and I did sufficient research when I had her, and this is something I'm also going to do soon, talking about children, and their energy in the signs. I did sufficient research on what are the best ways to raise my child with her being sun sign Aquarius. And a lot of the things that came up for her was make sure that she is calibrated to nature and the frequencies of nature, because Aquarius rules this electromagnetic field. And so when we come to think about Aquarius and technology and the internet, this is our only basic understanding of an electromagnetic field. And we know that computers have electricity. We know that television screens have electricity. We know that, lights and just needing to use electricity, we know that that's electrical. But what most people are not aware of, and awareness is another key thing that I'm going to get to, is that everything is electrical. Not just our computers, our television screens, our whatever, but everything that exists and live and has life has a spark to it. And that spark generates electricity. So my body is electrical. Our bodies are electrical. Our water streams are electrical. Our forests are electrical. Everything's running off this electricity. Yet, what most people know or are aware of as the basic premise of electricity is technology. So this is just a really an example of how levels of consciousness can have like a cutoff. So basically you reach one place of consciousness, and then you kind of reach a pivotal, I guess, like it's just you just stop. You just stop at that level of awareness because your connection isn't as connected. Your connection is off, right? So what we want to do is we want to be connected. We want to fully connect so that the dots connect, right? So that's a big part of living in the age of Aquarius right now. And a big theme that will come up during this time is that you can know so many things. You can fall off a cliff of knowledge. You can literally know everything there is to know, but if you can't connect the dots and you can't create a network of knowing and understanding and bridge that knowledge into wisdom and understanding, the wisdom and understanding has a source. The knowledge in all these different places with no sufficient connection is lifeless. And that's what these basic levels of technology, this is why that's the main thing that's related back to Aquarius, because that's it. Like technology, it has no life. Technology can't breathe and give me a hug and have feelings and emotions. Like, we know this about technology. We know this about devices and tools and things of that nature. But what most people come to understand is that these things have to stay away from water, right? Technology can't touch water or it's going to die. If you throw your laptop, I mean, they're coming out with stuff that's like waterproof, but just basically understanding and knowing about technology. If I were to throw my laptop into the ocean, it's dead. Like, don't expect to ever be able to use that laptop or whatever technology that is again, because technology, what we know of these laptops and things like that, it can't use water. It can't use life. But us as beings, me as a vessel, I'm electrical. I carry electricity, right? I have a network and a blood flow and energy, and I actually live off of water. I actually need water to sustain myself. And this is the balanced understanding of this age that we're in right now. And I felt inspired to talk about levels of consciousness and how to improve this connection to source and to be able to receive on these kinds of levels, because this is just basic knowledge. Honestly, this is just basic understanding, and I believe that this is something that should be taught in kindergarten. This is something that children should know. But yet we have grown people who are not aware of this and don't understand these basic laws and these basic understandings, these deeper connected understandings of life. So it's really important to get to these levels, right? So another really big thing about consciousness, and this is something that I've noticed for people that are, I wouldn't say conscious, but for people who are portraying themselves as conscious, or they feel like they're conscious, or they feel like they know something, basically. But I want you to understand that consciousness is not knowledge. And this is kind of like leading up to what I was saying before. Consciousness is not having a bunch of knowledge and just knowledge, consciousness is not that. Consciousness is awareness. Consciousness is becoming aware, having this knowledge and utilizing this knowledge to improve your awareness of who you are. And that's it. And the more and more you become aware of yourself, the higher your consciousness, quote unquote consciousness or connection, improving your synchronicity to source becomes. So if you're unaware of what I'm even talking about when I say source, like the term source has become a heavily used term through the teachings of Abraham Hicks, other people who just use the term source. I know, me personally, I've heard this term the most in coming into contact with Abraham Hicks's teachings. But when I'm talking about source, I am talking about the truth of who you are, your light, your original being, basically. And this matrix that most people are in, that most people have become a part of, being connected to source has not been something that has been encouraged. It has not been something that has been, empowered. They don't teach you this in school. This is not something that's just, this basic knowledge is, honestly, it's ancient. And from the colonialism or taking over, when other beings come in and they take over, that aren't connected to source, it's kind of like they took out all of the ancient ways, but now their threshold and their influence is becoming weaker, so we can have better access to this information. We can have better access to this knowing and understanding of ourselves. Come on. We're just getting to a point where we're comfortable talking about crystals and the spiritual world, and understanding that and accepting that we are a part of a vast universe where there are multiple star systems, multiple galaxies, multiple realms where other beings exist. And for a long time, people have just been kind of in this box about life, and have clung so harshly to material things, materialism, that the connection to spirit has been lost. And from that disconnect, it's caused an imbalance on the material realm and the spiritual realm. Like, it's just caused an imbalance. So if you want to improve your connection to source, and shout out to the people that are watching right now, peace. If you want to improve your connection to source, you guys have to start with number one, where you are at, and understand that your connection to source will come with your improved relationship to yourself. So this is something that I have recently come to terms with, understanding that when we are in a low place, and this is really important too. This is why I did a video previously with the sensual mystic on toxic positivity. It's important for us to understand that we have to be happy with where we are at, wherever we are at, in the way we feel, in the way we're thinking, whatever it is, and detach ourselves enough to understand that the emotions that we're feeling and the moods that we're taking on, that's creating the consciousnesses that we have. Like, if I have a certain mood, if I'm in a certain mood, or if I'm feeling a certain way, if I'm thinking certain things, basically there's been times in my life where I have been depressed, like just depressed. And I would say that these two major times in my life have happened. One, when I was a teenager, and two, after I had my daughter. So these are two really pivotal hormonal times, but these were two times in my life where I can look and literally look objectively and see that I was depressed. I was definitely depressed. I was sad. I felt hopeless. I felt powerless. That's where I was at. And I realized that from these places of depression, I didn't just make this huge turnaround. There were different phases and modes of moods that I went through before I could get back to my peak. And most of those moods are negative. They're negative moods. I'm not going to be depressed, go in from this state of depression to this state of just crazy peak. That would be considered like bipolar, right? But being bipolar is a whole nother conversation, and that's like a mental illness. But what I'm talking about is when you are in a state of consciousness and you want to improve your connection to source. So just say you are in a state of depression and you're really sad and you feel powerless and you feel like you have no control over your life. Things just feel really bad, okay? You can only get to the place you want to get to by going through different negative emotions. So before you can feel better than depressed, you got to feel angry about something. You got to feel angry first. So every time I came out of my depressions, I would always go into a state of anger. Like I would find something to be angry about because anger made me feel more powerful than being powerless. Keisha Cosby says, I feel you. You have to level up on your emotions, especially if the. Okay, I'm gonna wait for the rest. But yeah, especially if the emotions were not in motion. So you mean like stagnant energy, right? Stagnant energy. Yeah, and that stagnant energy has to be moved. And to move that, you level them up. So when you see people that are angry, walking around angry, a lot of the times, and this is something that I have had been programmed into too, is to get, feel like that person doesn't have the right to be angry. Like you shouldn't be angry. You should be positive. That's toxic positivity. That's that consciousness that you ought to be positive all the time. That's toxic, okay? Because an angry person cannot go from being angry to being this positive. It's just not going to happen. And so you want to be motioning that anger into the next level of consciousness, which is better than the last, which is, okay, let's blame. Instead of being angry, just diverting it into blame, having somebody to blame. And this is also when you look out into the world, you can see how collectively people are doing this. You go from a place of powerlessness into a place of anger. Okay, now we need somebody to blame. This is something that the black community definitely I've seen just play out, going from a place of powerlessness. Okay, now we're angry because we were powerless. We felt powerless for so long. Okay, now that we're not angry, we're gonna blame the system. We're gonna blame the white man. We're gonna do what we need to do to feel better. And so this awareness of these emotions in this water, right? Notice how this is all still connected to Aquarius and the age of Aquarius, and how this really is the time of, coming into a higher awareness and consciousness, but not in the way that most people are putting it out to be. And it's not their fault, because they haven't connected as much yet, but a lot of people are. So Zawina Codrington says, yes, I was just thinking about how toxic positivity keeps people from growing and expressing themselves. Facts. OMG, I just said this. Yeah, it does. And this positivity and consciousness movement has just brought a lot of confusion around our soul and our source and our light. Even there's a lot of stigma around the ego also that needs to get hashed out and put in order so people don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have an ego, I have to stay away from my ego. Let me tell you something. You need your ego to live. Without your ego, you're dead. You don't have no life. That's the whole, your expression, literally everything about you is your ego. But see, the dissonance or the disconnect comes in is when your heart is not intertwined. Your soul is not intertwined with your personality. And that's again another reason why I started my esoteric signs and zodiac traits videos, because the mainstream consciousness or the mainstream energy and conversation around all of these topics are shallow, and they just talk about the personality. But if we are really to activate this energy of this time, we have to go beyond just talking about what's energy of the sign and what the person that, and we have to get to the connected to the heart of the situation and the heart of life and what's actually going on in the soul of this planet. And this is why I'm bringing up water so much here, because water is really such an important element. All the elements are important. I love all the elements. They've been calling me, and I've been connecting really deeply to the elementals, the nature spirits, and they're like, look, it's time, it is time for us to really connect to these spirits and realize that they exist. They're here. Theurgy Theatra. Is that Jet Li? Who is that in that picture? I like Jet Li. I love me some Jet Li. Yes, ego must be be integrated with the universe through self-realized oneness. Exactly. And this is the archetype of the king. So Leo is the reflection of Aquarius. So anytime we're talking about like the age of Aquarius and we go into these ages, I think I've said this before, but the reflection of this sign, Aquarius, is going to be what's activated individually in each and every one of us. So we have the collective energy, which is the age of Aquarius, the Aquarius energy, and then we'll have the individual era that will be reflected in each and every one of us. So this is also why now we have people, literally, you can shine your light and everyone in the world can see you. There is no limitation to who you can reach today in this time. I can reach, there are 7 people on this live right now. One of y'all could be in Switzerland, one of y'all could be in Brazil, one of y'all can be across the street from me and I just ain't never seen you. One of y'all can be, you can literally just be anywhere in the world. Yes, be water, my friend. That's why I love Bruce Lee so much. I believe he was my husband in a past life. But I'm telling all y'all my secrets. Goodness. Oops. But basically, this is the individual energy that's being expressed in each and every one of us is Leo. Sanguineous Warhammer. I hope I said your name right. I'm in Nigeria. Peace to Nigeria. Oh my gosh. I love the Atlantic Ocean. I love the Atlantic Ocean. That water is so healing. That water is so I mean, I can't say the Pacific Ocean ain't healing because it might be, but I've had some magical experiences in the Atlantic waters. Definitely connected to that area spiritually. But we're all generating this light inside of us. And when you have people telling you to stay positive and get out of here with your negativity, it's kind of like you're retarding people. Like you're not allowing them to evolve. Because when you tell somebody they're not allowed to be angry, they're gonna go back to being powerless, feeling depressed, and just kind of going back and forth from this powerless feeling to this angry feeling to this powerless feeling, because it's not okay to express these things. And there are plenty of healthy ways to express all of this energy. And don't think for 1 second I'm saying that if you feel angry and you want to punch somebody in the eye, you should be able to do it. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the only reason people do that and it gets to that point is because the anger is shunned and it's not allowed. You're not allowed to be angry. And so it makes a person more angry, or, because they want to get out of this place. So you want to give people that healthy space to express negative energy and express their emotions. And the whole point of being in the age of Aquarius is being detached enough to know that the emotion of this person is not this person. It's just what this person is currently experiencing, and it's their level of consciousness. It's just their level of consciousness at this point of time. I also want to make a really clear, definitive line between you being in a disconnected or a lower level state of consciousness. So depression and powerlessness is like the lowest that I have mentioned. However, there you can go lower than that. But I don't want to mention that, and I want you guys to understand that there are lower levels to that. And that's when it gets lower than that, that's when you just kind of want to, that's when you need to tune your energy up a little bit, because when you're coming into contact with people who have like evil frequent like you're so disconnected from source that you just a evil psycho, like you just out of there, you gone. And those kinds of energies are coming and into your environment where you can actually see them or sense them. It's time to clear the air. It's time for you to just, focus on your own frequency, because that type of stuff shouldn't even be around you or touch you, or you shouldn't even be like, that shouldn't exist in your environment, period. So I wanted to make that clear, because I don't want people to feel like I'm saying if somebody's a psycho rapist that you should allow them to. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying when it's something just as simple as a mood, and you want to expand yourself from being in a low place back into your normal state of being, like normally you're at a high frequency or at a certain level of consciousness, and you want to go up. That's what I'm talking about. So basically, Jeffrey Evans says you're right. Yeah. So basically, going from anger, you're gonna go to blame. You're gonna find someone to blame. And then from blame, you might go to irritation or annoyance. And then from irritation or annoyance, you might go to just apathy. Like you don't really care. You're just there. You're content. I don't even say content. It's like apathy. Like whatever. And then you can go up into contentment, where you're not really irritated and you're not really happy. And it's just levels to this. And once you get past contentment, that's when you can start feeling hopeful. You can start feeling inspired. You can start feeling better, uplifted. Then you get into that real good stuff where you're like happy, you're joking, you know, you're feeling good. You feeling good. You just feel better from there, honestly. You could just go up. You can be into joy. You can start feeling love again. You can start feeling admiration and just all of these different things. But I wanted to made sure I mentioned that part of consciousness, because a big thing in the this conscious era is, don't be negative. I don't want your negativity, blah, 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 or, you know, um, to be enlightened. And, I've been on social media for years, like 4 straight years, I would say. I've been active on social media with my energy and with what I like to do. And being a spiritual life coach and being in this realm of spirituality in the spiritual community, there's been so many people who have been like, oh, you need to get help, or you need to, there's always going to be those kind of people. But I noticed that I would say lower consciousness or lower frequency beings, like that's like they're cut off, like they're not able to break past that point or that understanding of there's more, than just me being positive or pretending to, be in this good mood all day. Because I realized in my own experience that sometimes people are where they are because of where they are, and it's not necessarily nothing against them, but it's you would benefit from thinking empowering things about that versus judging it or thinking, oh, this person is negative, they're ruining my mood. Like, if anybody knows any Leos, and hold on, I got a comment, I'm gonna read it before Ken the Poet says, this is an interesting talk. I've always wondered why darkness isn't celebrated. The beauty of the night and how it can lift one's vibrations sometimes more than the light. Maybe that feels toxic, that feeds toxic positivity. Question mark. Having a balanced approach between the two positive vibes and the serenity brought about by darker deemed negative. Yeah, it's all about consciousness and awareness is all about, I always get the picture of the yin and yang coming into my mind when I get on this subject. And this is also why I've been talking about masculine and feminine a lot, because it's like the balance is everything. Being able to be in balance is everything, and maintain that balance, maintain that peaceful vibe, and understanding that the peace sometimes doesn't come without the war. Actually, it never does. You have to have the fight to have the peace, right? It's a necessary exchange. And that's why the sign of Aries is opposite to the sign of Libra. And this is how these two energies, this is what these two dynamics teach us. What's your sign? I'm a Scorpio and I liked your What's your sign? I'm a Scorpio and I liked your astrology video with Scorpio and Virgo. All right, if you guys do not know my sign, that means that you need to watch my videos a little bit more and get on my lives a little bit more, because I have told you guys my sign at various points. But if you directly ask me, it's gonna make me not say it. It's gonna make me not want to say it. Can you tell what my sign is just from that little trait? Okay, I'm gonna turn my music up just a little bit so you guys let me know if you can hear me still. Because sometimes it goes in and out. So yeah, if you guys can guess my sign. Wow, that's funny. Yeah, I'm definitely a sun sign Scorpio. So, all right, so I was saying something before I read Ken the Poet's comment. So now I gotta remember what I was saying. So anyway, it's true. Okay. So anyway, these levels of consciousness and being conscious has a lot to do with this balance, the yin and yang, and becoming one with the forces of life and being able to detach yourself and use the waters for, ooh, what is this? I don't like this. All right, I had to change the music. But being able to use the waters for your intention. Willpower is a big thing here too. So that's the spectrum of basically your levels of consciousness. And also I want to bring up awareness. So being aware is a really big part of consciousness. And I think that the more self-aware you are, the more that you are aware of how you are affecting other people and also how you're affecting yourself also determines your level of consciousness. Because there are a lot of people who they're in this spiritual, like on the spiritual journey, and they're in their spiritual energy, but they don't see how they're affecting other people, and they don't see how their lifestyle or just who they're being is affecting themselves. So basically like their life, their own experiences, their own expansion. So basically, for example, when you're not aware of yourself, you won't understand why, like you won't, basically it has also a lot to do with the laws of the universe. Like being aware of self and being able to see how yourself is affecting like just your life. You know how they talk about manifestation, right? Well, manifestation, and that's a whole nother live that I'm gonna get into, because that's another trending thing that I just feel like people are not very clear on at all. The whole gag about manifestation, it doesn't have anything to do with, ooh, I'm doing all this crazy, like it doesn't have anything to do with you manipulating anything, but only has to do with your connection to yourself and how well you are able to shine your light into this world. When they talk about legacy and you want to leave this world, making sure that you leave a legacy, all of that has to do with making sure that you come into this life being who you are and living your light and expressing the fullest and truest, most authentic you unapologetically, and having that light fuel your life, fuel your, so your, this light is not only fueling other people, but it's fueling your life. It's fueling your body. It's fueling your finances, your resources. This light is literally feeding your life. And this is why I said that the ego, you need your ego. Like, actually, I wouldn't even say you need it. Your ego just is. And to suppress your ego is to suppress your life force energy. And that's almost like a slow kind of suicide. And I don't encourage anyone to do that. And you know what else? I'm also unafraid of anyone's expression of self when it is aligned with who they actually are. So now, when you are expressing from a place that isn't actually who you are, this is when you start to manifest things, or things are coming into your reality that isn't reflecting who it is that you really are. Like, what, I guess you could say, what it is that your soul really wants, because you're suppressing your soul and almost feeling like your light isn't enough. Like, it has to maybe feed off of other lights. It has to follow other stars. And we're all our own unique star. We have all have our own unique light. And that light is what attracts everything that we intended on creating before we came here. So it's true, you know, we all have a unique and divine purpose. And when we are connected, fully connected to source, then we will receive all of those things. We will fulfill that legacy. We will fulfill that purpose, whatever it is that we want to do. We came here wanting to do and want to experience. And all of those, that connection is going to make us feel joyous. It's going to make us feel good. You know, it's going to get us feeling better and better and better and better. So your sun sign has a lot to do with this connection to source. And this is why the sun sign is the most talked about sign. It's the main sign that most people, you know, we think about, we talk about, because this is your soul's, basically like your soul's request of you to experience and shine light in this area, in this energy. Keisha Cosby says, as a Leo, how can you suggest I slow down, searching for sense of self based on the reaction from others? All right, hold on. I need to read that again. As a Leo, how can you suggest I slow down, searching for sense of self based on the reaction from others? Okay, so as a Leo, I have a lot of Leo friends, and I've had a lot of Leo experiences. So I think the first thing that you should do is just determine where you're at in how you're feeling about yourself. Because honestly, as a Leo, you're like the epitome of connection to source. Like, that's what you came here to do, is literally be connected to source and shine light on, basically, you're the living example of what it means to be connected to source, period. Like, that's just, you're like the fundamentals for that. So when you're watching a Leo, like in its natural state, in his or her natural state, you will be able to learn those things just like any other sign in any other area. If you're looking at them, if you're watching them, like if I'm watching a Capricorn that's aligned with their natural self, I'm gonna know how to build something. I'm gonna know how to build a business, a house, I'm gonna know how to keep things from crumbling just by watching a Capricorn aligned. So as a Leo, you have the potential to express that light in such a way and be able to teach people how to call on basically the God in you, right? That's this connected fire energy. Like, even with me on here doing a live with you guys, like, I'm tapping into a part of my Leo energy because I have to have a certain feeling about myself to even feel confident enough to get on here and talk to random strangers. Like, just like, I don't care. Like, anybody can get on here. But I know because I'm connected, I'm not gonna run into, you know, I'm not gonna attract people who are gonna wanna like hurt me or defame me. No, I'm gonna attract people that are connected or want to be connected just like me, because that's the energy I'm tapping into. So basically, definitely determine where you're at and how you feel about yourself, because Leos tend to either feel like kitties, like like kitties. Leos tend to feel like I don't know how to say it, like pet me, like shy little kitties, or they're this grand and audacious, lion that wants to have all eyes on them. And basically both of those areas are based off of an insecurity. So definitely as a Leo, become connected to who you are and find your confidence, find your connection in being a light. And I always say that the best way to balance out one specific sign is to look at its opposite sign. Always look at its opposite sign. So if you want to balance yourself out as a Leo, you want to look at your earth sign. The sun is opposite to the earth is opposite to the sun. So your earth sign is going to be in Aquarius. So you want to look at your earth sign and understand that your earth path deals with you recognizing others and recognizing the community. You can't shine light and ain't nobody around. Like, what's good? What is good is that? Ain't nobody gonna see the light except for you, possibly. But that's not the point. The point is, when you shine, you want to shine for other people to see it and feel it, like, the community. So yeah, I hope that helped you with your question. So levels of consciousness and being in higher states of consciousness. I've ran into people that, so this is a big thing too. I'm glad that I brought this up. Like, I'm actually glad that you asked that, because it made me think of how the only way to be self-aware is to be able to tap into that connection to community and to other people and friendships and networks, right? And this is why I mention, you have to be aware of how you come off or how you're affecting other people. And if you are not aware, right, of how you're affecting other people. So when I say affecting other people, I'm not talking about somebody that is not like has not actually come into your experience and then left your experience. I'm talking about people who are coming into your experience and you noticing them. You recognize them, they recognize you. Are they leaving your presence in a better state than when they came into your presence? Or are they leaving your presence in a worse vibrational state. So I'm not talking about like people that you don't notice or you never like, so there's people that can notice you but you don't ever notice them, like people who know you but you don't know them. I'm not talking about that, because if they know you and you don't know them, then that means that their connection to you is they're the only ones who really need or have something to learn or whatever. But I'm talking about like a connection where you're noticing them, they're noticing you, they're leaving your experience. I've talked to people before, and it's always kind of weird to me when, you know, people gossip, people say things. There's always going to be somebody who like has something to say about somebody. But when people have a repetitive, synonymous opinion about you, and then not only that, but somebody will come to that person, like they'll come to that person and be like, they'll even tell them like, you affected me in this way, blah, 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 blah. If that person has no clue about how you could have felt that way, or they have no clue about how you came to that conclusion, basically, like, this is also kind of a narcissistic trait. They basically like gaslight you. Well, you only feel like that because you da, 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 da. That is like a really clear indication that this person is not conscious. They're not in a enlightened state of consciousness. And what I mean by enlightened is when you are dealing with a sufficient amount of light in a soul, that means that they can see all areas. They can see what you're saying. They can see how they can see it. When people come to me, or if people tell me about some scenario, or they ask me like, oh, how did why did this person say this about blah blah blah, or how did this ended up happening, I can tell you from back and front and sideways and all the way in the corner crevice how that happened or why they might feel that way. Basically, I understand that person, and I also I have a perspective. I have a clear perspective. So that's very important to also recognize, especially when you're coming across leaders or people who are putting themselves in ooh, I need a pillow on my seat. I'm gonna get a comfier seat to sit on. This pillow kind of hurting my butt. Too much information. But yeah, you want to stay away from people who are like that, especially people who are trying to lead you, because they don't know nothing about themselves to be trying to lead somebody. They don't even know how they're affecting people, or how they're leaving people when they come into their you should leave people better than how you met them, as a leader or as somebody in a enlightened state of consciousness. And now I also want to make clear, sometimes there'll be people, especially if you're somebody like me, nah, but sometimes there'll be people who will challenge you, who will challenge your leadership. And from their challenging of your leadership, they might not feel like, they might have some things to say about you. They might not agree with whatever you're doing. They might not, whatever, they'll challenge your leadership because they haven't been able to calibrate to your light, right? They can't calibrate to your light and what it is that you're shining. And so that's different than what I mentioned previously. In this scenario where you're shining your light and somebody is obviously, feeling threatened or feeling like you're spreading false information, or basically they feel like, why are you doing things this way? Because I wouldn't do it that way. You should do it like this kind of energy. That is different than what I previously mentioned. And that is not have nothing to do with you, but that has to do with that person. That has to do with that person having a hard time coming into your level of consciousness. You get what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's what that has to do with. So, I pretty much talked about a lot having to do with levels of consciousness. Do you guys have any questions? Do you have anything that you want to ask me? Like, how did this resonate with you guys? Also, tomorrow, if you are on Clubhouse, I am having a Clubhouse discussion called, the room is called The Sacred Earth Feminine. However, you can join in, male or female, but it is called The Sacred Earth Feminine because it's going to be me and another young lady, a friend of mine, Malika. And we're going to be on Clubhouse talking about everything that basically you need to shed, you need to let go of so that you can merge fully with your higher self. So that's going to be the discussion. You guys can come on, hop on. It'll be tomorrow at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And I put the link in the description for you to click on and set a reminder to be there, because we will be chatting. Jeffrey Evans says, I like your sayings. I say stuff like that too. My sayings? Yeah. So basically that's how I see the levels of consciousness, and being able to know, how to ascend in your own energy, and also how to allow other people to carry you on your ascension journey. All right, because the more you open yourself up to being guided by your own spirit, you will calibrate to the higher beings of this universe, the higher beings of this realm. And they are present in watching. Yep. So shout out to, the unseen realm that also enables me to share with you guys, because a lot of the stuff is really me just connecting, like that I share. A lot of people be like, where you get all this information from? I just one day just woke up and I was like, I gotta do a video about this. I got the message and I felt the need to share it. And I just kind of let it flow. So it'll always be a flow. Also, the doors are opening for activating the goddess frequency in May. So submit an application for that if you're interested in calibrating to the 4 elements and getting in touch with the elemental and nature spirits with me. It's going to be really dope and powerful. Yeah, and I actually didn't put this link in my description, but I have also started my journey doing HFX trading. I was about to say training because I've been trained, but HFX trading, high frequency trading. So if you guys are interested in learning how to make money in minutes easily from your laptop, I'm also building a team around that. So just send me an email or message me on Instagram. Dope Live, I agree with constantly evolving into higher levels of consciousness, being able to hold all things in your awareness without judgment, but rather sobriety of response and action. Exactly. And that was a very beautiful way of just typing that out because it is 100% about being in the world, but not of the world. You get what I'm saying? Being in the world, but not of the world. Being able to see and use what you got to get where you're going and not get lost in the sea of information and really follow your heart. This is what I feel like they mean when they say follow your heart, because we have three brains: the gut, the heart, and the brain. And it's really weird, like, why is this only called brain? This is gut, this is heart, and this is brain. But like, honestly, when I look at how the brain looks, it looks similar to my intestines. It's just like compacted in my skull. So it's really weird. But anyway, you have those three levels, you have those three brains, and when we're dealing with communication and that electricity that's flowing through all of these systems, the anatomy of the body, right? Because it's so beautiful. You can learn everything through just understanding your body. And that's another video I'll do, talking about Taurus and how Taurus represents. Actually, I'm probably going to do that after I get off this live because I was planning on doing it. But yes, the body represents the primal, like, basics of intelligence. And I mean, you can learn it all just from your body. So yeah, thank you guys for joining me on this live session. I had a fun little chat with you all. I appreciate you all for tuning in, and make sure you like and subscribe, comment, hit the notification bell, because I will be going live again and I will be posting new videos. So yeah, appreciate you all. I will see you soon. Hearts.